Welcome back to the MyLatinLife podcast. Since 2014, MyLatinLife has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Today, our guest is El Catalán in Suiza. It's a popular X account where a Spaniard is sharing his story of having moved to Switzerland and achieving financial independence while living abroad. We welcome El Catalán to the podcast.
Thank you, Vance, for the nice introduction, and it's a pleasure being here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been fascinated by Switzerland. I have not been yet. I will be going in 2026, COC. And I think it's a really interesting option for people. I think in the future, like 20 years in the future, there's going to be two high trust countries left in the world, Switzerland and El Salvador, and I guess Asia. But so it's like your option is El Salvador or Switzerland if you want to live in the West and, have a bicycle that you leave unlocked outside your house or something. So I've always been curious about it. So we're happy to have you here.
Definitely, yeah. That's a nice view.
And I know that there's a lot of pessimism about, working in Spain, working in Portugal, Southern Europe, like the low salaries and everything. So maybe you could just walk us through kind of as a Spaniard, what your option set was, what your mindset was, decision-making process, and how that's gone.
Yeah. So yeah, as you say, basically in Spain, I grown up in a small town, 40 minutes away from Barcelona city. So yeah, my group of friends or whatever, we all went to university, and then you study and you believe you will find a nice job that you can live for yourself, be independent. But then you realize that with, 1,500 euros, it doesn't really go so far in terms of a budget. So that's the first thing you realize when you finish your studies and you check out the job market in Spain. So that generates a bit of frustration and kind of scarcity mindset, I would say. Even it really, you can notice when you've been a few years abroad, that many Spanish people, I would say, they have this scarcity mindset, know that, like, I don't know, I need a fixed contract, I don't have enough money, I cannot do this, do that. And it really even influences your mindset, I would say.
So you went to university in Spain?
Yeah. I studied mechanical engineering in Spain. Then I finished there, and I worked for 1 year and a half in Spain in an automotive company in Seat. So basically a supplier of Seat cars. And then after that I moved to the UK, basically because of better job opportunities. And then after 2 years in the UK, let's say I really targeted, let's say, the best country in terms of income versus cost of life, let's say, potential of having the best at the end money in your pocket. And it came out that it was Switzerland in my case. So that was a bit the path.
And just for housekeeping, where in Switzerland do you live? Are you in the French part, the German part?
I'm in the French part in my case. So I'm in Neuchâtel. So it's basically between Geneva and Zurich. So it's kind of not so far from the German part already. And it's pretty nice. I would say the bad part of the French part is that it has a higher taxes, income tax. So it's a substantial difference compared to most of the German part. But being a Spaniard, it's easier to learn the French than the German, for sure. Mm-hmm. In my case, I learned it after a couple of years. And let's say the life is maybe slightly more Latin in the French area, a little bit less squared, but
longer lunches.
Yeah. It's not
Okay.
too bad.
Cool. So you must speak Catalan, Spanish, French, English.
Exactly. Yeah. Hmm.
Cool. So bring me back to you're in Spain or your friends are in Spain. Tell us a little bit more about the dynamic because I see it on reels and on Twitter where people are like, el piso cuesta el salario mínimo, and so tell us a little bit about that dynamic.
Yeah. So basically, for sure, I mean, I do some comparisons even on my ex account, and that the rents are almost basically I'm paying the same as I would pay in Barcelona. Of course, in Switzerland, I'm living in a small town, so I'm not living neither in Geneva or Zurich. But the rent that I pay here, basically, it's kind of 15% of my income, whereas in Barcelona would be like 50%, 50. So the the difference is huge.
Hmm.
And yeah, obviously in my case and in many people that I know, instead of struggling in renting a flat, many people just stay at their parents until like 30,
Hmm.
even more than that. And yeah, just obviously to avoid this massive cost of the rent. But yeah, as I was saying before, I think this it really kind of makes you puts you in a bad mindset of scarcity, like the fact of living at your parents, trying to save and stuff. So that's a bit the struggle. And obviously, the people that don't stay at their parents, they all have to share to be in a shared apartment or whatever. And yeah, I mean, you still, if you are reasonable, you still can save money and have a good life. But yeah, for me, having seen the two sides, Spain, even UK, and then Switzerland, for me it's a no brainer that if you're young and you want to kind of progress financially, especially, that's it's a no brainer the opportunities that Switzerland gives you.
Hmm. And because Barcelona is still kind of the rich part of Spain. Like I shared this, map chart, just this week. It actually did 1.5 million impressions, where it was like the average salary in Spain, and it's like Catalonia is actually decent, where it's like average like 2,500, 3K per month. Basque Country is quite good, like 3K per month, and those are like the rich parts. And then the whole rest, like the south of Spain and Galicia and the center and everything, it's like very low, like 1,000, 1,500 a month. So even in sort of being from the rich part, the math still wasn't mathing.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's one of the richest, probably only after Madrid or some others. But yeah, even with that, because of the potentially as well the pressure of the of the expats and the tourists, let's say Barcelona is so popular in terms of tourism and basically many people from all over northern part of Europe coming to Barcelona. It really makes the housing prices and overall prices go up a bit, making it still tricky for the Catalans to thrive. And then obviously in Spain you have all these funcionarios, so let's say people that work for the state with a public contract, and yeah, basically you earn the same amount of money if you're in Barcelona or if you're in a town in Galicia or Andalusia. So basically, it's a great deal if you live in a small village in a town because you still if you're a policeman or whatever a guy that does the administration in the government of Spain as a functionary, then it's a great deal. But yeah, when you're in Barcelona or the big cities, then the income is really quite low.
Hmm. And would you say that Spaniards are generally a little bit pessimistic about the current situation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean the politics are not the reputation of the politics is not great, and especially as well after COVID, in terms of inflation, in Spain it was massive. So the people are really feeling it in their pockets, the cost of the groceries, of the rents, everything. So it's really punishing the people in Spain. It's a pity, and it's yeah. Then we have a government that is quite left wing, so it's not really, in my point of view, improving things. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky situation.
I remember when I was in Spain recently, I was hanging out with some Spaniards, and it was like, we're walking down the street. It's like, what bar do we go to? And they were literally like, oh, this bar is like 70 cents cheaper than the other bar. So we got to go to the cheaper bar. And they were like really concerned about like extremely small quantities of money. Like they actually pay attention about saving like $3, $4. It was really surprising to see.
Yeah, I really feel that comment, because I was myself like that. Or I don't know. There's examples of I don't know, a croissant place or a creperie that give away some free stuff, and then there's a line that lasts for 2 hours of people wanting a free crepe or a free snack. So it's really that case. And I'm going back to the mindset thing, that we have this scarcity mindset, that we would drive for 1 hour searching for a free parking slot instead of instead of paying €5 for parking our car. So it's really, you describe it perfectly, and it's really common in Spain. And yeah.
And so to fast forward a bit, I should have mentioned in the beginning, but you share openly on X that you've kind of got to a decent level of financial independence, and you've kind of got your net worth up into the, multiple six figures. I think it was like 400 or 500K, something like that. Something that, the average Spaniard can only dream of, I would imagine.
Mhm. Yeah. So obviously, that's a bit the, let's say, I'm a bit of an extreme. I'm really into, let's say, personal finance and investments and stuff. So I'm aware that maybe I'm not the average spender or person, how, let's say, on how I manage my finances. And that's a bit as well the reason of my name in the X profile, so Catalán and Suiza, no? Because the Catalans have the stereotype that in Spain, that we are quite tight with the money, so that we don't spend money at all. We try to save as much as we can, and don't even spend one euro for espresso if I can take it my coffee at home. So that's a bit the reason of the name. So that in terms of a Catalan, so a person that doesn't spend in Switzerland. So basically taking advantage of this combo, no, of having a frugal life, a low spending life, not getting carried away with the, let's say, lifestyle inflation, and obviously keeping on track in terms of investments, and for sure, let's say, side hustles, and trying to make money here and there.
Mm-hmm. So who's more tacaño? Who's cheaper, the Catalans or the Swiss?
Definitely the Catalans, yeah. Definitely. I mean, you see many examples in Switzerland that you can feel that there's no this mindset of scarcity. Like, I don't know, second-hand cars are cheaper in Switzerland than in Spain, because obviously Swiss people just buy new cars, and then second-hand market is not that. There's not so much demand, so you find better deals.
Mm.
And with that, everything, like, I don't know, I like mountain biking, and I changed the suspension of my bicycle, and I put it on an Ibis or on the Facebook Marketplace to sell it in Switzerland. Nobody messaged me. I put it in Spain for the same price, and I have like 20 messages of people that want to buy a suspension cheaper than a new one.
Ah,
So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
They
like
just culturally don't buy
cult-
used stuff in Switzerland.
I would say much less because I have this example of this parts, or I have other examples as well. Like yeah, in Spain, you put I don't know, an iPhone to sell or whatever, it really goes quick. And in Switzerland, they just I don't know, they buy it from the shop. Why would you try to save 100 francs or 200 francs if you're earning 7,000 per month? So I think it's a bit this point.
Interesting. Taking it back a bit, tell me a bit more about kind of the transition. I think you share you're about 34, 5 years old now. You've been in Switzerland for about 7 years. So you got there when you were like 28. What was it like the first few months, and what was the hardest part in the beginning?
So hardest part, I would say, yeah, having to share an apartment with people I didn't know, and yeah, obviously sharing a flat, it can always be a pain. So in that particular case, there was a person that was not cleaning and stuff. Nothing major, but that was a bit of a pain point. This sharing a flat with people I didn't know, and then obviously you have no friends. But that, in my case, it came quickly. That yeah, at work, I quickly. I mean, at the end, you find many people from abroad, so it's easy to connect. It's full of Italians, French, Spanish a bit less, but there's some Spanish as well, and they are all in the same situation as you. They came to the country. They don't have a family, so
Hmm.
it's quite quick to connect with this kind of people that are in the same situation. And apart from that, the hardest, yeah, at the beginning it's really a shock in terms of prices of things that are quite more expensive. I don't know, like you go for a beer in a bar and it's like €7, where in Spain it's like three. So at the beginning you really have this mindset of not spending at all. At least for as a Catalan tacaño, you really kind of think, okay, this is really too expensive. I'm not spending anything apart from the groceries from the supermarket. But yeah, that were the couple of points that were tricky or shocked me at when I arrived. Obviously, I had kind of a soft landing because I came with the job. So you are sure that you start your month and you have your first pay. So that's quite it's quite good, and it's a recommendation I would say to come already with something, with a job, instead of having all the fixed costs of Switzerland that are pretty high and not having a job.
Hmm. Yeah, tell me a bit more about that. So you got the job offer while you were in the UK, I think.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So basically, I got tired of the UK. Let's say the rain and everything. I said, okay, that's enough for me. And in my mind, I said, okay, let's either go back to Spain or try some country that offers me more than Spain. And yeah, I just started applying. Let's say without too much filters. Obviously, I wanted to work as an engineer that I studied, so I had experience in automotive and pharmaceutical industry.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just for me it took 3 months to get a job in Switzerland from the UK. So I had like three interviews, uh, different sectors, and then yeah, finally this one worked out. And basically, I packed my things. I didn't have too much stuff in the UK. I just had the big two baggages, and then my flatmate in the UK sent me an extra box of stuff that I had. So that was for me the approach in the move from UK to Switzerland.
Hmm. How'd you get the job on LinkedIn or what?
In my case was, I think it was in LinkedIn, yeah, and it was by a temporary job, so it was a 6 months contract.
Mhm.
And I think that's another key to enter to Switzerland. So instead of kind of trying to have a, let's say, an undetermined contract, so a fixed contract, look for the temporary ones, that because that ones the Swiss do not take it. So then there's the opportunity for the Europeans and the foreigners to get into the country.
Less competitive.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was through a company, HR company that is called Randstad, and they have many companies that they work with, and they place the employees to whatever company that they need a temporary worker there. And at the end, I stayed in that same company. So basically, you start as a contractor, and then obviously if you do well your job, and then if they have the budget to give you a fixed contract, then obviously it often goes that way.
Mhm. So, what advice would you have to Europeans that might be listening to this, that might be interested in following in your footsteps and getting the job off? Because the job market's a little bit different now. I feel like LinkedIn works a little bit less well than it did pre-pandemic and so forth. But what would kind of some of your advice be?
I would say not having too much filters in terms of the sector or even the conditions. Be open to have a temporary contract of 6 months or 1 year. Then another small tip is to potentially have a Swiss number, so a plus 41 number. That's a tip that I heard from a friend, and it seems that they might it gives a bit more confidence to the potential company, because they feel like, I don't know, you live there, or you are somehow more related to the country. So yeah, you can just get a SIM card with the plus 41, or there's even some apps that do that for you. So that's another little tip to do that. And apart from that, obviously, if you can speak a bit of the local language, either French or German, although the Swiss German is different than the standard German. And then obviously you have the Italian part, but that's a very, very small one. So it's quite limited amount of opportunities there. Still possible.
And maybe a lot of people listening to this don't know, but a European Union citizen can actually, they don't even actually need a job. You can just sort of like show up in Switzerland and sign up in a canton and just sort of become a resident. Like, I think you just have to show a little bit of money in the bank. It's a little bit different depending on the canton, but you could just show up and become a resident.
Yeah, that's correct. Indeed, you need to show that you have some certain means, so that you will not. They are making sure that you will not ask for money to government, so that you will not ask for, let's say, social allowance or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, you can show up and just stay in the country. So that's very nice as well.
Would you recommend that, or is that a bad idea if someone wants a job, like, and they're not getting too many responses from home? Would you tell someone, hey, just like, show up and maybe more opportunity that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be a way, especially for non-qualified people, I would say, like people working, I don't know, in restaurants, in hotels, stuff like this, or even in the ski stations as well. Because anyway, if you're a qualified person, it doesn't change anything to go to a big company and just knock on the door. You will have to go anyway through the human resources and stuff. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
definitely for the less qualified people, if you can show up, you rent an Airbnb, I don't know, for 2 weeks or 1 month, and you just go around to the little businesses, restaurants. That could be a good way to yeah to find something very quickly. Yeah.
Right. Live in your van.
Yeah.
Cool. And is it really how they say that, like, even with the minimum salary you work at McDonald's, it's like enough to pay for an apartment and even and save money? Like the salary to cost of living ratio is really that good?
So it's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, the minimum salary must be around 3,500 Swiss francs. So it's almost the same change to euro. So 3,500 euro. And yeah, with that, obviously, if you live in a big city, you will have to share an apartment, ideally, to save good money. But yeah, let's do the example. You work at McDonald's, you get more than 3K a month, and you can rent a room for 700 easily, even less. And yeah, obviously, then you have the groceries, but you can be saving 2K, or yeah, a bit less than 2K, working in a McDonald's, let's say. So the the potential is quite good.
So why doesn't every European do this? Why doesn't every Spaniard do this?
I think in Spain, let's say, the economy was not that bad until, let's say, 2011. I mean, before the financial crisis, Spain was quite almost wealthy. People were earning well for the cost of living in there, and yeah, definitely there's the language barrier, culture barrier. So not that many people were moving, but now it's true that Switzerland is a big attraction, and many people try to get in, and potentially even from 2019 that I arrived, I think now it's getting trickier to enter and find jobs and opportunities. But yeah, I mean, definitely, so many French people try to move to Switzerland. I mean, there's full of frontalier, they call it. So it's people that cross the border every day to work.
Mhm.
Uh, Same thing for Italy. Same thing for Germany. So basically, many people around try to go there to work. But yeah, Spaniards, maybe because there's a bit of more distance compared to France, Italy. It's true that it's more tricky to find them in Switzerland.
I watched some of these videos. I've genuinely been researching this stuff. Like, you can tell I'm actually like very curious about this. I watched some of these videos, and it was like the meat police on the border. And I think the idea is, like, a lot of people do their shopping in France
Yeah.
because it's like half the price of the grocery store in Switzerland. So they just drive 30 minutes across the border to France to get the groceries. I'm kind of explaining for the audience, but there's a limit of, I think it's like 1 kilogram per
Yeah.
week, 1 kilogram of meat per week per person or something like that. And then the police at the Swiss border are like checking all the cars, like, see how much meat you have.
Yes, that's correct. It's quite a funny one. Indeed, especially the red meat in Switzerland is really expensive. So yeah, probably two times or three times France or Germany. So yeah, if you actually go to the supermarket in France on a Saturday, you see full of Swiss plates in the in the car park. So yeah, it's quite common. And indeed, yeah, in the border they know that people go for the groceries, so they check about this about the stuff that you have in this famous 1 kilo of meat per person per week. I think it is. Yeah,
And is it just the meat, or is there other like
the meat
interesting restrictions?
the meat is the clear is more expensive than the bordering countries. I would say that's it,
Alcohol. Yeah.
because let's say tobacco and alcohol and stuff like this doesn't change that much, I would say, especially in France. Tobacco is so expensive, so yeah, mainly meat, and then obviously the supermarkets in Switzerland are a bit boring, so there's not too much choice. So then when you go to France, I mean, it's a country that has so much to offer in terms of culinary and food type of things. So you kind of find all sorts of fine food in the supermarkets. Whereas if you go to the Coop or the Migros, it's the supermarkets in Switzerland. It's quite plain and boring, I would say. So apart from the price, it's the choice as well that you have in France or Germany.
And I saw just this week you posted a thing about how the ski lift tickets are basically the same price.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that and why you posted that.
Yeah, that's it has a slightly bit of a clickbait, because some of the resorts are more expensive than in Spain. But obviously in Switzerland you have like 300 ski resorts, so you have a massive amount of choice. So if you don't pick the most posh ones like Zermatt or Verbier or Cramontana or whatever, if you pick the not famous one, standard, which has still great mountain, great views, great snow, it often costs around 600 euro, which would be the comparable price that you pay when you go to the Pyrenees or to Andorra, which is where most of the people in Spain, Catalonia and the surroundings go to ski. So it's quite shocking to have the same price. And yeah, indeed, it generated many reactions. Yeah, obviously, then you have the people commenting, yeah, but when you go for the lunch or for the beer, it costs you 3 times. It's true, but if you really go for the forfait, for the ski lift pass, it's quite comparable. So it's the comparison is shocking, according to the salaries of the people that live there. Yeah. Plus, you have an option in Switzerland that is called a Magic Pass. That it's a season pass for more than 30 ski resorts, which costs 450 euro, and you can go as much as you want to these 30 resorts. So it's an amazing deal.
How long is the ski season?
Sorry?
How long is the ski season?
So it's normally from end of November until April.
Okay, pretty standard.
Yeah. You have some glaciers that open all year long, I think, but it's really at the top. It's not so common to, but you can potentially ski in summer if you go to the glacier in Zermatt or some of the stations. It's possible.
So you mentioned Andorra there, which I'm also pretty curious about. I feel like it's a similar thing where, it's like lower taxes, maybe better jobs, but obviously Andorra is tiny. Is there opportunities in Andorra as well to do kind of the same thing that you're doing, or not? There's not really jobs there.
So it's good that you asked, because I was there recently and I know people living and working there. So it's not really the same thing, because if you want to be an employee, the salaries in Andorra are almost the same as in Spain. So you will be getting around 2,000 euros per month. You still have less taxes, so the net will be slightly higher in Andorra compared to Spain, but it will not change massively. Plus, the Andorra has as well the issue with the housing, so you have so many rich people living there that the housing is really going up. So yeah, you have all the YouTubers and all the MotoGP riders living there, so it's really developing a lot in that sense. So yeah, unless you have your own company or it's really the perfect country for the people having, let's say, online income or online revenue. So kind of YouTubers, because then you have this flat tax of 10%, I think it is. So it's quite nice for that. But as an employee, the potential is limited.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds about right. Okay. And kind of coming back to Switzerland, do you think that it's going to continue like this for the foreseeable future? Like, obviously, Switzerland has historically done well and kind of been on a different track than the rest of Europe. But I can kind of tell that like Switzerland's going a bit woke. They're less what's the word? Less neutral than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of integrating with Europe more. Is it still going to be this amazing opportunity with like high salaries in the future? Do you think the economy will keep doing well, or do you think we're kind of getting towards like the end of an era?
I think it will still continue because when you look at when they vote in Switzerland, you still have a big amount of people that vote, let's say, conservative. So let's say not woke. So I would say the woke virus is not so much spreaded. If you take out the big cities or the French part of Switzerland. So in my view, it will continue pretty much like that. It's true that there's a slight risk, no, of going, let's say, in a similar way than Europe. But I think the Swiss are very, let's say, the first priority of the Swiss is to keep their living standards and their purchase power. That's known from the Swiss government that to protect that and to make that a priority for the country. So in my view, it will stay like that, pretty much.
That's good. That's what I want to hear. Uh, cool. And then just briefly on the investing stuff. So I think you have some rental properties in Spain. Are you a glutton for punishment, or what's up with that? Because there's the whole ocupas thing,
Yeah.
which maybe you could, well, maybe it'd take too long to explain, but the squatters, as we call them in English. So why are you investing in, like, I know it's cheap, but like, why are you investing in Spain and maybe not in the US or Switzerland or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's mainly for the return of investment, so the yield that you would get in Switzerland, because the price tag is so high, then it's around, you get around 3%, 3-4% of yield if you invest in a flat and you rent it. So whereas if you go to Spain, it's minimum, I would say, 6%, and then if you go obviously to more let's say riskier options like renting by rooms, so then you go to close to 10% of yield. So that's the reason I went for the Spain thing. Plus, I have this idea of at some point, if I have let's say enough capital, potentially going back to Spain to live, because Spain is not that great place to work, at least to work for another person, but to live it's a quite nice place. So that's a potential idea for the future. So yeah, that's the reason behind investing in real estate in Spain and not in Switzerland. But yeah, definitely there's the ocupas risk, so the squatters risk, especially in the surroundings of Barcelona, is quite high. It's still a very small percentage if you account the full amount of properties available. It's like 1% of the properties that are squatted. But yeah, there's that risk. Plus, specifically in Barcelona region, Barcelona is known to be quite left wing, so they are more and more putting limits to the rent and basically not giving too much juridical security to the homeowners, to the people, to the investors that are putting housing into the rent market. So yeah, that's a bit of the drawbacks of investing in Spain and specifically in Barcelona. I wouldn't invest in another property in Barcelona area. I would say other areas in Spain are more friendly for that, like I don't know, Valencia, Madrid. Yes.
Okay, cool. I was going to ask you about future plans, staying in Switzerland forever, returning to Spain one day, or exploring other low tax countries. Maybe how do you think about it? You think you're going to retire in Switzerland or Spain or?
It's a good question because I know so many stories of people that came to Switzerland like me, to just I don't know, maybe work a few years and then go back to your country. You do a bit of cash, you do a bit of capital, and then you go back to your place or wherever. And then all of these people ended up staying in Switzerland and even retiring in Switzerland. So that shows, let's say, how good it is in a way, the country. But then, yeah, uh, it's a bit tricky decision. It's at some point not only financial, and it's how you feel in the country. If you have your group of people or friends and stuff, if you like, I don't know, going skiing, the type of life in Switzerland. In my case, as I said, I would like to go back to Spain in a few years, but only future will know.
Hmm. How do you think kids might impact that decision? Do you think it's better to raise kids in Spain or in Switzerland?
So Switzerland education is very good, even Spain as well, but Switzerland better, I would say. The thing is that then, yeah, it's not a very child friendly country, Switzerland, in the sense of that it costs so much. So basically, if you bring your kid to the kindergarten, it's like 2,000 euros per month. So the cost of having kids in Switzerland is huge. So, and in Spain would be obviously much cheaper on that side. And then, yeah, I would say in my case, I would prefer to raise children in Spain, so that I would be, I don't know, close to my parents, whatever. And the education there is good, and yeah, but definitely Switzerland it's a good place to raise kids as well. But yeah, very expensive. So many people actually what they do is that the woman doesn't work because unless the woman has a, let's say, a qualified job, the cost of having someone, let's say, take care of your children are so high that it's not worth for the woman to be working and just it's
Right.
better that the woman just takes care of the kids herself. So that's quite common in Switzerland.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. Yeah, I wonder how like the safety fits into that and like, the demographic change in Spain and everything. But that's interesting that you'd kind of prefer to raise kids in Spain.
Yeah, I think that's still a kind of an emotional part of myself. But yeah, if I try to look it more rationally, probably would be better to do it in Switzerland. But yeah, we'll see.
Cool. So 7 years in Switzerland so far, 3 more years to the passport.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of my milestones as well that I would like to achieve about the having the Swiss passport. So that would be then for me kind of an insurance if I go back to Spain. Then I have the Swiss passport. So whenever I can come back and have and get a job easier than other people would. So that's the idea.
Definitely. And since this is the My Latin Life podcast, I was just curious, are there a lot of, I hear there's like a decent amount of Latinos in Switzerland as well. Like there's some like Brazilian Portuguese and just like Latinos in general. Like what could you tell me a bit about that?
Definitely, yeah. Where I live, there's so many Portuguese and even Brazilian. Uh, and then yeah, Latinos. I met several as well, especially in the. I know there are many in the ski stations, like working for the season in restaurants or whatever. So yeah, there's a good amount of them. Yeah,
Yeah, I heard like in Geneva and stuff, like you can find like Colombians and that kind of
yeah,
thing. And
definitely. Yeah, yeah, it's a good amount. I don't mm, consider myself much of a Latino, even from being from Spain, because we have all this Catalan thing being feeling a bit different than the rest of the Spain. So, but yeah, there's definitely the Latin community in Switzerland too.
Do you think Catalonia will go independent one day? I feel like it could happen.
I don't think so. Yeah. In the past, I was pro-independence. Now that I've been abroad, not that much anymore. I think it's a lost battle. I think it wouldn't bring that much benefits to Catalonia, nor Spain. So I think it will not happen, and it shouldn't happen from my point of view.
Well, I'm really happy to hear about your story of financial independence, living abroad, and sharing your story online on X, on Twitter. Has it been fun, kind of sharing things on Twitter as we get to wrapping up? Has that been kind of worthwhile? How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think the Switzerland thing, it has a lot of hook, so I think it's easy to get some visibility with the algorithm. But yeah, it's cool to see at the end when you share stuff, you end up learning stuff as well from the comments, from the reactions. You end up learning stuff about yourself as well. So it's cool to share. And yeah, sometimes you get hate, sometimes you get whatever, but it's cool, and you get to learn as well the type of population that we have in Spain. No, so often when you post something, they go like, "Oh yeah, but Switzerland is shit because you cannot even take one beer because it costs 15 euros." So they really give some hate because they want to feel comfortable in their position. So they're like, "Okay, I'm not gonna move from Spain, so I'm just gonna tell this guy that Switzerland is shit because I'm comfortable here." So, but it's fun to share and see the reactions.
Definitely. Well, thank you for doing it, because if you didn't, we would never get connected. And you seem like a awesome guy, and I'll have to put a Neuchâtel on my list.
Definitely, yeah. Come whenever you want.
Awesome. So we'll get to wrapping up. Any kind of final words or message that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think we've touched pretty much everything. So thank you very much for, yeah, it's a pleasure to share my story. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for doing this. Really appreciate it. I find it super interesting, and I wish you best of luck getting that Swiss passport in a couple of years. But yeah, this has been another episode of the MyLatinLife podcast. Again, our guest today, Catalán and Suiza. There will be a link in the description to his Twitter account, X account, and you can follow him there. And guys, please subscribe to the podcast, whatever podcast player, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this. Subscribe, leave a review, helps us grow the show. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like El Catalán, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.